Hello.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us on tonight.
Yes. Welcome.
Welcome to Couch Conversations.
Yep.
We are excited about the show on tonight. So we are going to, let me make sure I am sharing it correctly on my page. I'm excited about the topic we're going to talk about tonight.
Yep. And while she's doing that, like, tag, and share.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Let's see. Let me make sure I have my volume down. All right, here we go. All right, guys. So we are super excited that you all are joining us on tonight. As June said, like, tag, and share. Tell somebody to join. We have an interesting topic on tonight. This is actually part 2 of what we did about a week ago. And we're just talking about the topic from Connie's stage play.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we don't come to church.
Yep.
And we have seen and heard, like when you're on Facebook, you hear lots of pastors talking about people not coming to church like they did. And some of it, is blamed on the pandemic. And people are saying that the reason they don't come to church is because of the pandemic and they're scared of COVID. However, things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
The world has opened back up.
Yep.
And so we want to talk about tonight really what's happening, why people aren't coming to church like they did before. And so we ask on tonight that you like, tag, and share, get someone to join in the conversation.
Yeah, we welcome your comments.
We actually do. If you have questions or something that you want to say, you can go, you can write it in the comment section. You can inbox me because I can see my phone. And I have a few questions already from people who have been talking to me kind of behind the scenes about this topic. And so I am not going to belabor the time. I'm super excited because I have one of my besties up here on tonight. We have Minister Kadeidra Carr with us on tonight. I am super excited. Hello, Dee Dee.
Hello.
How you guys doing?
So we are so excited to have you on tonight.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. Kadeidra,
thank you guys for having me.
Kadeidra Smoots. Let me get myself corrected. Yep. Kadeidra Smoots is who we have tonight with us. And so Dee Dee has been married for 4 years to Jason, to overseer Jason Smoots, who we love so dearly. She has her son Bryson, or their son Bryson. Dee Dee is the executive director of talent and acquisitions. Let's just say the head HR person for the Chapel Hill Carborough school system. And she is a newly ordained minister of Launch Ministries in Raleigh, North Carolina. So Dee Dee, we are super excited.
We are.
Dee Dee and I go way back to 7th grade.
Yes.
Way back to 7th grade.
Wow.
And we have been kicking it hard ever since. So the Lord placed, I'm telling you, I have such a good, tight group of friends that I love it so much. And I love them so much. And so we have Miss Minister Smoots with us on tonight. And so Dee Dee, we started off talking a little bit about, why people don't come to church and what is happening. Hey, Sean. Hey, Rosalind. Why people aren't coming to church. And so we want to just pose that question to you and kind of get your input on what you think is happening in the body now. I remember church before COVID and almost like standing room only, like this, the pews are tight, everyone is there. And then due to COVID, COVID did have a big part in it. However, I think it's a little more. And I think COVID allowed a lot to be done.
Yeah.
And so let's hear it from your point of view as to what you think.
I was thinking about this actually on the way home. And I think there's buckets of people. And when I say that, I think there's a bucket of people that have gone to church their whole entire life. They know church. That's what they've been accustomed to doing. Their parents say you have to go to church. and they've gone. And for some reason or another, something has taken place, leadership hurt, church hurt in the church that has caused them to say, and I'll tell that story in a minute, but it has them to say, I'm just done with church completely. Then I think there's another bucket of people who are truly looking for a place. They don't know what it is exactly. It may be church, but they're not sure. But they get into this space of meeting religious people at church, and it causes them or turns them completely off from church altogether. So they had good intentions of going and trying church, but we have these religious people, whether that is the person at the front that is absolutely mean and surly, and the usher, or whatever those situations are. And I'll be able to give some real life situations I know that have kind of deterred me, but I'm glad it didn't cause me to leave God. But there's enough happening in the church that causes people to leave God. It's not, don't know them, but then there's some that don't and want, and they're looking. And we, and I say we, people that are in church, we just haven't done a good job, I feel like, with being welcoming for people that are really trying to find their way. And then I think the third bucket of people are that bucket that I feel like goes to church to cause discord or discourse. And we can talk a little bit more about that as well. Like, that is just their intent. They go to church, but they're not really going to church. They're going to church to cause discord. That's being in the rumors, whatever it is. And so you have these three buckets of people, and then you have the body of people who are trying to do the right things. And it just always seems as though that bad always outweighs. And so when you talk about COVID and this, we live in a different world, I feel like, now. And so life is short and people's fuses are shorter. And so they just assume not to deal with it at all, because why? When they see that they can go to church online and they can tune in. And I always say it's just very different than inside the building. But this has become a norm for a lot of people. They would much rather zoom it in, watch it in, without dealing with religious people that come to church to cause discord all the time.
Wow. It's so true.
Yeah, it is.
I think that you said a lot. One, you talked about the church hurt. And that is, I've heard, so much about being hurt in the place that you're supposed to be healed. And so we have, that has been a huge one from, people that I'm hearing, just talk about it, is they can't get past this moment. They can't get past the hurt. And so they're so angry that they choose not to even enter back into the house because they've been hurt so bad. And then you talk about the religious people. So those who are, those who have been in church all of their lives, and then they come in and, I'm going to let you talk about that a little bit more, but how that could deter people. And then those that are causing discord and, that hits a generation that's not standing for it. And so I want you to go back to the hurt, and I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Oh, I'll talk about first the experience to watch. So my sister, she wasn't old enough to experience that. So my mom was attending a church. And so those of you who know my mom, she's always been in church. She's always been the glue, the pillar. I don't care what's going on. She's like, come on, let's go and pray. Let's do this, let's do that. And so that's what I've been accustomed to seeing throughout. And so anything or any place that she went, we went, my sister and I went. And so I was in college and I watched her tirelessly just work for church, give tithe to the church, hospitality, in charge of all these different things, and at no return. It was just a constant using and abusing and using and abusing. And she wanted to make sure, that she was being faithful. So she believed in the tithe and she did all these different things. And I watched her give her last, and they co-signed on if this is your last, go ahead and give it anyway, because God is going to bless you. And I've watched her give her last. I've watched her had her car repossessed. I've watched her all these things. And so I think what the camel, I think that's what they say, the camel that were the straw that hit the camel back was my grandmother was very ill. She was in the hospital and there was an event going on. And like I said, she was over hospitality. And they told her she might as well have just come on to church because she wasn't a doctor and she couldn't, it was nothing that she could do for her mother. This was like after the repossession of the car. She still continued to go faithfully, all those things. And it was that time that she realized that they don't really care about me. They just care about what it is that I can give. And so people don't know this, but up until I would say a year, she attends church with us now. She was done with church. People did not realize that. She never left God, but she left going to church. The church hurt. I mean, and so even now she's just, I see people don't realize this. And I say this all the time, even with as parents, you know, your kids and the things that you do with them as children, they are going one day become an adult, and things are, it's a sore subject. And so she would cringe when people would ask for a because of what she endured, you know, at this other place. And so now she's she knows that people love and care for her and they don't want anything from her or they want to take from her. And so now she can give freely. And so for a long time, I dealt with tithes, and like my new leaders would tell you, like, the struggle for me, because I said I wanted to be a cheerful giver, because that's what scripture says. But I would never be cheerful about it, because I remember the times when my mom gave her last and did not, I mean, and she didn't have a car. She didn't have any, they didn't care. They wanted to make sure that she still, even in not, they didn't say, hey, what can we do to help in this area or anything. Get to church the best way you know how, because this is where God resides. And I said, I just could not wrap my brain around the whole process. I just could not wrap my brain around it. And although I'm happy she did not leave God, but she was absolutely 100% done with going to church.
Wow. Dee, I think you have said a mouthful, because when you said even about your mom sowing seeds, it struck a chord with me, because, and I have to share this story. I was never done with God, right? But sowing seeds, Lord have mercy, I give it all, right? And so I can just so identify with giving and giving and giving, and you know, you're waiting for the return. And I can remember it had just frustrated me so that I was like, you know what? I am not sowing another seed, because I think this is just, and this is me now, the one who always did whatever I could. But I was like, nope, I'm not doing this anymore, because it was just so ridiculous to me. And I was frustrated. And one night I went to church, and there was Prophetess Valerie Moore was preaching this particular night. And she asked us to sow a $42 seed. And I was like, I'm not sowing another seed. And then I was like, God, if you want me to sow this seed, I'll sow it. Like, I'm just so, you know, I don't know if this is real or not. Like, help me
absolutely
in this area. And so I felt like he wanted me to sow the seed. And what she said was, within 24 hours, the Lord was going to do something for your household. And I was like, here we go. So I did it anyway. I sowed the seed. I got home. It was like 10 o'clock at night when I got home. June was already in the bed. So I didn't tell him about the service or anything that I had done. And when I ended up, the next morning, June called me about 7:30 that morning. And he was like, babe, guess what just happened? I was like, what? He was like, Bradley, which is his boss. He said, my boss just called me in the office. And I said, for what? And he said, babe, they gave me a $3,000 raise. Honey? I was like, oh my God. Like, okay, God, okay. And so I ended up telling him that I had sowed the seed, and I was like, okay. And so from that moment, the Lord restored my faith in being able to sow a seed, because I had just given, what I didn't have for so long.
Absolutely.
And so when that happened, it just restored my faith. And so now I give because I believe.
Yeah. So I heard both of you all say concerning situations about giving and sowing, and not like so much for yourself, but the story that you just told. And then you said, giving and sowing, and not seeing a return. I know that you guys know what you meant when you said that. However, if somebody that's watching or listening, so that they won't get it mixed up, they're not saying that, giving like it's some type of slot machine or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you're in Vegas or something like that. There's a different type of return that
absolutely
that they're talking about. It may be a return by way of, I don't know, more compassion.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Understanding. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Unless somebody get it twisted.
Right. And so like now I do give, like I said, because again, the Lord showed me himself, like he restored my faith in that area. And so I'm so grateful for that, because it was a hard area. And then you talked about how your mom had lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And still, it was almost like it just wasn't enough. Give everything you have, and then your mom has to go and try to find a way to make it to church. And then I can recall an instance where this gentleman's mother was sick, and he spent more time with church than he did with his dying mom. And so you have to live with that,
absolutely.
And that's a hard thing. And so, I just think that's amazing. And I'm so grateful that your mom was able to keep her relationship with God and find a place of love.
Yeah, that's the powerful thing about it. Everything that you just said, sad to say that I've either experienced or I have witnessed everything that you said from the three bucket types. Everything. From I mean, you name it, and it's sad to say that the Bible said that there's nothing new under the sun. You know what I'm saying? So it happens. But the important thing is that your mom didn't give up. You know what I'm saying? She didn't give up. Like you said, we never, we never left God. We never left God.
Because I couldn't. He was our lifeline.
Right, absolutely.
It wasn't even an option to leave God. And the thing, and I'm so grateful, is that I had a relationship with God before I had a relationship with man. And I think that's a part of where sometimes we kind of miss it, because we put so much into man that when they disappoint, then you think God has disappointed you, but that's not the case.
Right.
And so you really understand where your faith and everything should lie, then that doesn't happen as much.
Because I'm telling you, it's easy. It is easy for some people to be offended. It is so easy to be offended. That's why I believe that when leaders, when they pick or choose, or whoever they designate to be ushers, to be in position like that, we know that they're like the first face that you see when you come into church, and that person has the ability to set the tone for that person if they allow them to.
Absolutely.
They can just snatch what little joy that they have, that if they're not strong enough to hold on to it. Like we know that this joy that we have, the world didn't give it to us, and the world can't take it away. You know what I'm saying? So, but for that person that's not in that place, and they encounter somebody like that, whether it be somebody in the parking lot ministry or an usher, or any office, it's just, you got to be careful about that.
So take us there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's so key, June, because some people, I mean, and this is people, like I said, that have been in church all their lives, and maybe some that are just coming to, but sometimes people don't understand how much of a struggle it may be for them to even get into the house, to get in the car, get out the bed, get in the car, and even drive to church. And as you said, it starts from the parking lot ministry all the way to who's ushering. We visited church, wonderful church, great things about the church, got into the church. There was an usher there to greet us, and she was very mean. We asked to sit on the outside of the seating because the person that I was with had some issues with his foot, and so he wanted to be able to get up and kind of move around if he needed to. And she was so mean and surly, made us sit in between all these other people. And I know the service probably was good, but I didn't even hear the service because I was so mad about how hateful and mean she was. And I said, if the service was good or not, I don't know. I'm never coming back here again. And we never went back again. And so, like you said, people, sometimes that's their last, whatever they had, that little bit that they have left. And then you come in and this is the person that you see and just turns them completely off for a seat, and so it happens all the time. And I could not tell you today what was preached or anything, but I can tell by the reaction of people that it probably was a good word, but never did I return.
Wow. And so this is from someone ushering on the floor.
Yeah.
I joke all the time about Phyllis. So Phyllis is our head usher at our church. And so I just get tickled about Phyllis all the time. But Phyllis is the most caring and loving person. She loves people, right?
Loves people.
And so when she comes in, when you come in, you're greeted, and all of that to make you feel welcome into the house of the Lord. And that is just, what you're supposed to do. So that's good.
And it's so key. And I think it's also important. June mentioned about having leaders. I believe in, we have this thing in education called the artisan leader, where you build leadership capacity with people based off of their strengths, period. And so that may not be, ushering may not be my portion, or, getting the water, whatever those things are. But as leaders, it is important to know what those strengths are for those people. And then you put those people, you strategically put those people in place for that. So we attend church, our leaders, Bishop Al Morgan and Pastor Yolanda, they are very strategic about who they put in different spaces. And you better be in that space. Don't go and do this at the front if you know you're not nice and all those things. So you have to have leaders to be able to strategically know, okay, well, we're not going to put this person in the parking lot. We're not going to put this person at the door. Now, we may put this person behind the scenes. We may put this person on the camera, and really build on strengths. Like you have to do that. And so, and some people just, I don't, it's just, they don't think that it's important. I don't know what the thought process is, but I'm thinking to myself, when I'm saying to myself, out of all these people in this church, this is the only lady they had that can usher. I'm just like, is this the only one that can usher? The meanest lady in the church you got ushering. Why?
Right. Wow. Phyllis said, why do people have to be so mean to God? God's love. It's the truth. It is the truth.
Absolutely.
And,
but when somebody really got the Holy Ghost, usher, everybody can have a moment, a bad moment. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can have a bad whatever. But to have that and still be able to stand in position and people still feel the love of God,
absolutely,
that you are displaying, even in the midst of what you may be dealing with at that moment.
Yep,
that's the calling.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. I only use Phyllis for a reference because I've seen her, and she has to deal with some people that are not so nice, like you said. They might be having a morning. It's not about her, but it may have been something that happened before they got out of the car that has them feeling like they're feeling. But this is true. This is true.
Yep.
Dee Dee, the last thing you talked about was the Discord. And well, before I go to the Discord, I think it is key what you said as far as leadership being able to choose people and put them in the role that they belong in. And there is a pastor that I love, Dr. Mack. Dr. Mack, he pastors a church in Winston-Salem. And I'm telling you what, he knows how to just pull whatever's in you out of you. And not only does he pull it out of you, but he finds that gift in you. And my friend Tanya, he was her pastor, and he was here in Oxford before he went to Salem. And so she would just tell me the stories, and I would just be in awe. And so when I listened to Dr. Mack, even today, and like his vision and the things that he does in meeting people where they are and pulling those giftings out of people, it is amazing to me. And that's why his church grew from 750 people to over 3,000 people, because he has that gifting to be able to do that. And I think, and even with Pastor Jackson, so he's not going to, so he'll let you explore, right? And so if he sees something there, he'll say, well, I think that this is, whatever. And so I think that is key, that leadership should have that ability to see it and pull it out of you. I think that is an absolute must, so that you don't have things like what happened to you to happen. And you are right, Miss Rosalind. Usher should have a smile on their face and love in their heart. It is the truth. Absolutely. And yes, Kelly said, we are not trying to instill in you what they think you should be, but hearing from God for instructions for your life. And that is true. That is true.
Because nothing is personal. And that's what people need to understand is, and what I've learned in my journey is, it's not even about me. It's not even about us. It's about the people.
Right.
It's not even about us.
Right.
That's right, Kelly. Wow. Groom you and not conform you. That is true.
Right.
That is true. So Dee Dee, you also talked about people that cause discord. They're in the church.
Can't get around.
I think they come to church every Sunday to do just that.
To do just that.
And again, I just go back to, because like I said, this new generation, I call them the Generation Z, and you have to get them right. It's like the microwave kind of, they're microwave kids. You got to get them right when you get them. And if anything, it looks remotely outside of us. I was speaking to a couple of students actually today, just about, even though I'm not in the school, about why, they feel like they have left God or any of those things. And some of them said, the Generation Z said, that they don't even think God resides there. And they don't think God resides there because of all the people that are causing the discord in the church.
Wow.
And that gives me a ton of bricks, because I'm like, they don't even feel that God is there. So what are we doing as the people that have been going out of, out of routine? You know what I mean? Like, what is it? What are we giving off to the new generation to say they don't even think God resides there? So what does that say to the congregation and the generation of people that are supposed to be going to church every Sunday? You got the mothers of the church, all these people that you used to see back in the day when we were in church. You had your mothers, and they were like our mothers. And if you got out of line or did any of those things, they were right there to, embrace you. But it's not like that anymore. And so I'm always intentional, and I always, because I know that's my ministry too with the kids. Like, I gravitate to them all the time, because I just cannot imagine growing up in this world that we live in now. It's totally different than when we were growing up, and so they need us.
It's totally different.
Yeah, they need us, and I don't know if we have done a great service of that, making them feel like, when you say come as you are, I would hear students say this too, but do you really mean come as you are? So if I have on jeans or if I have on this, and then you're frowned upon, so then it doesn't really mean come as you are, because that shouldn't happen. Or if you have a tattoo or your hair color. So everyone knows I love changing my hair color. I don't think it has any indication of how anointed I am about my hair color. I was called in the office about my hair color. It said that I was worldly. I was called a Jezebel. I was called in the office about my stockings. And they weren't even fishnet stockings. They were just stockings that had flowers on it. That I was more worldly now than I ever have been before. And I mean, just mean and screaming and yelling. And I thought to myself, when I get out of this office, if I don't take my arm and just slide everything off this desk on my way out, because that's how upset and mad I was.
Right.
I was like, you don't have to ever worry about me coming back here ever again. And it took me by surprise, because we had been in leadership and I thought maybe we were being called in because they were trying to get us to like work with the students. Work with the children ministry. And I was like, okay, so they're going to call us in for that. Had no idea that this was what the conversation was going to be about. And I've never had my father, because this is a male, this was a male minister, speak to me in that tone. I've never had a husband, a boyfriend, no one ever spoke to me in that tone before. And I just remember going home and just crying, like I had to pull over because I was so upset. And I don't know if I was more mad about the fact that I didn't tear that office up, or if I was mad about the fact that I let this man speak to me like this. And I think the other piece was, unfortunately, when you are in ministry and in leadership, you're held at a different standard. That is the call. You accepted it, and that's what it is. And not that I made this person an idol or made this person a god, but I set this person apart because he was supposed to be the leader of the church. And so I feel like there are different rules for leaders, regardless of workplace or whether that's at home or whatever. There's different, you're held at a different standard. And so I think I was more disappointed than anything. And so to me, you can be a great preacher in that, but if you don't have, this is the same thing with the doctor. Oh, this is a good doctor on paper, but their bedside manners are horrible. So are you going to get this and go to that doctor, or what are you going to do? So it's the same thing. So it's like this, the pros and cons, and it's going to always outweigh the other. If you are, I don't care if you are a good preacher, if you don't have good bedside manners and you don't know how to talk to people, then that's a problem. That's a problem.
Wow. Wow. One thing about it, that experience that you had, there's no room for that to happen again.
Absolutely.
For it to turn out, for you to handle it the way that you did previously, wow, that's, man.
All I can do is just chuckle. That's all I can do, because
and my husband, we had this running joke. He makes me so mad. So he did the prayer for Thanksgiving, and he was like, and Lord, please do not let my wife get us kicked out of another church. I said, don't do that. Oh, I think LaShawn might have heard that prayer too. I'm not sure, but I said, don't do that. Don't do that. But it was, it lightened the mood up, because I'm telling you, like I've been delivered from it, but I have been talking about those tights. My new leaders would tell you, he said, we're going to get you delivered from this. Like, we're not going to keep talking about these tights now. We're going to get you delivered. But that thing bothered me, because then I started internalizing, like, am I anointed? Am I worthy of the call? Can I do these things? Like it was in my mind, and so that's why be careful what you say to people, like, and them in what you say, because that resonates and stick with them. And so for a long time, I didn't want to say nothing. And now we're being pushed, like I said, you just said we just recently was ordained. I would have never thought in a million years minister anything, but it took a while for me to even formulate that out of my mouth, because you feel like you're not worthy. Like, I honestly felt like I knew my husband was called, but I was just like, well, maybe what they're saying is true. Me changing the hair color and doing this and doing that. And so I had to really take a look at myself and understand what this tug of war was, and so, but it took a minute. It took a minute, and he never apologized, and that's okay, because he's got to be accountable for that.
Absolutely.
He got to answer to that.
You have opened up a whole nother thing, because so two things. One, when you talk about, and this is so key for leaders, like I get it. I hear people say all the time, I don't know what it is that makes leaders talk harshly to people. I don't know. Control. That is it. That is it. And I always know when you're out of control in an area, you have to control another area.
Absolutely.
And so a sign that a person is out of control in another area is because they're very controlling in this area.
Absolutely.
And so I realized that. And then also, Dee Dee, you talked about the apology part. So even in, so many people have had these issues that you are talking about. And I'm amazed because we're in different churches, however, it's happening around. Mm-hmm. And so I get the part of order. I get, everything done in decency and in order. And I get the excellence and all of those things. But when you miss love and how to talk to people, because there's a way to say things. And I can remember, because LaShawn, she tells me I'm probably the mouthiest of all of you all. So LaShawn could not. She tells me all the time, like, Ayana, like, I don't even understand how you allow things like this to happen. And I would just say, because for me, it was, I'm trying to be respectful. I'm honoring God. Everything I do and anything even to this day in ministry, everything I do is unto God. It is not to man. Mm-hmm. I serve to the best of my ability because I believe that I am a servant. And so I didn't come for anybody. Jesus said he didn't come for anybody to serve him, but he came to serve. And so I take on that mentality that I've come to serve. So whatever you ask me to do, I'm going to do it. And I think immaturity is a lot of it as well. When you're very immature and just that whole thing, it allows you to do different things like that because it's not okay. It is not okay to talk to people like they're your children. These are God's children. And we been at Zion. It's been since 2011, I think. I cannot name one time that I have ever heard Pastor Jackson holler at me or say anything. He may not be pleased with everything, but he just knows how to talk to people. And that makes such a difference, being able to, communicate with people. And then, Dee Dee, you talked about the forgiveness part. And I don't wait for anybody to apologize for anything in life, period. Right? Because, if I peached June, I know I peached him. And so I could make the excuse, and this is what happens. I'll make the excuse, well, you put your hand over here. And if you hadn't put your hand over here, it wouldn't have got pinched. Well, that's not the truth. Even though my hand was there, you should not have pinched my hand. We do not share equal responsibility for what has happened.
That's right.
And so I think that people are making that mistake to say, oh, well, you did me wrong. Like, you put your hand over there. I'm just using that as an analogy, but it doesn't matter. It does not matter whether someone apologizes or not. It does not matter, because when your relationship is with God, when you understand, like, everyone is held accountable to God, and I'm really scared. Like, I am really nervous because the Bible is true.
It is.
I'm held accountable. You're held accountable. Like, and so when you said that they have to answer to God, and that's what you have to understand. Like, I don't have a heaven or hell to put anybody in, and nobody else has a heaven or hell to put me in. But ultimately, you've got to understand that everyone answers to God. whether you're in leadership or not,
That's
you
right.
still have to answer to God. And so when I look at things like that, I don't expect an apology. I don't expect anything. Actually, it's just, it is what it is. Like, I'm living life and I'm trying to live it on purpose, and I'm trying to do what the Lord has called me to do. And so I don't have time to waste time in thinking that you're going to say something that you may not say, or you may not ever get to. It doesn't matter whether you do or not. I got to keep moving because I've got a purpose in God. And so I think that is, that's just where we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the
absolutely.
Bible declares that a soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. So in that analogy that you just used, like, I've been pinched for so long that now there's no room for nobody else to pinch me. Because you pinch me now, I'm gonna pinch you back. I mean, you know,
come on here.
All levels of humility. Some things are just really not called for.
That's right. That's right.
Whether it's immaturity or just controlling or whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
So just like the last meeting that you had in that place, there's no other room for another meeting.
That's it.
Like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, God is love. God is compassionate. God is understanding. Now I understand too. He's a lion and the lamb.
That's right.
He's a great God and he's a terrible God at the same time. However, when we know what we're supposed to be doing and we do what we know to do, you know what I'm saying? If we don't know it, you can't hold me accountable for something that I didn't know.
Right.
That's right.
I knew it is different, but still, don't pinch me.
Listen, and I'm so glad you said that, June, because some people want to portray like God was a punk, and he was not. And so I don't even understand why they do that. But I wanted to go back to, and I don't even know you guys, Pastor. You said you have been there since 2011, and he's never yelled. I'm willing to bet my last paycheck also that, is it Pastor Jackson? Also time to build those relationships with you, right? So there are sometimes you have to have uncomfortable conversations. We always have to have those. But like you said, it's the way you say it. But when you build those relationships with people, it goes over a little bit different.
It does. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Tracy talked about that a little bit earlier in the comments. She was saying like building relationships with people to get to know them. And, if you have a super large church, I don't expect you to have one-on-one with every single person there. Like, I can't imagine TD Jakes knowing the 25,000 people that, attend his church, but he does have leadership in place, where, that should have the heart of him and the heart of God ultimately, that are able to help cultivate some things as well.
That's true too. However, even with that being said, the relationship begins between the individual and God. That's where the real relationship, comes to play. When you develop that relationship with God and you understand that greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. When you understand that, that's relationship. That's relationship with God. And when you spend time in his word, or you spend time in worship, that's the most important relationship that you can have. Your relationship with God rather than a relationship with man.
Absolutely.
So a relationship with man is important, but a relationship with God is even more important.
That's right.
Because the same God that we develop a relationship with should be the same God that this man has.
Absolutely.
There may be some things that we don't understand, and we can go for counsel and get him to understand. I mean, to explain that, to help us with some stuff. However, at the end of the day, that man has to answer just like we got to answer. So when we talk about relationship, we want to build that relationship with God first.
Right.
That's right.
And I think it's key, June. I think that is key because that's what gets us into trouble.
Yep.
That's why, I'm not coming to church because the pastor didn't call my name today.
Mm-hmm.
Or that can get you in trouble because did he call your name? Does he know your name?
Right.
That's so key.
Right.
But and you have to be careful with that. You have to be careful. And then a lot of times we can look at other people that are doing things and think like, well, why can't I do it? It's almost like it's a story in the Bible where it's the 7 sons of Sceva. And so they see the disciples healing and delivering people. And so they say, well, we're going to do it too. We got to do it too. And so they go to deliver this person. And when they go to deliver, the demons in the person say, Jesus, I know, what Peter, I know, but we don't know you. And they send them right. And so you have to be careful that God called you to the place that you look at other people and think, because like Pastor Jackson makes preaching look easy. Yeah. But I got sense enough to know it is not. It is not. So you just have to be careful in those areas too. And don't expect man to give you what God has the ability to give you.
That's right.
Every man is not equipped. I tell Pastor Jackson all the time, he's an introvert. I tell him that all the time. Like, he's really quiet, really humble into himself. When he preaches, you wouldn't believe that, but I can't expect him to be this extroverted person and just, when that's just not who he is. Mm-hmm. Or for me, like, well, I guess June would be a little more introverted than me. I'm loud. I just know what to expect out of people. So don't place, an expectation on people that they don't have the ability to give you.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right. I'm telling you, I have mad respect for what you guys do as ministers. Mad respect, and what y'all do, y'all make it look easy, but I know it's not. I know it's not easy. But looks can be deceiving.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at somebody that is operating in or on a certain level, and the first thing you think is like, I can do that. But then when you're in that position, it just ain't coming out the way that you saw. Mm-hmm. So I'm smart enough to know, and we all should be smart enough to know that when we see people, like you said, Pastor Jackson, like you said, the 7 sons of Sceva, when we see people operating in a level of an anointing or operating in their gift or whatever you want to call it, that's effective, is easier seen than did.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. And I do want to just say there is a responsibility for us as people in the church. So I think we do also put a lot of weight on leadership to say that leadership should be this way. And we have the perfect church set up in our minds of how we think it should go. And when it doesn't happen that way, we're disappointed or we're angry. But there is a responsibility that me as a member, there are things that I have to do for myself as well. Like, I can't expect my leader to be my God and take, June, what you said, building that relationship, that's your responsibility.
Yep. That's right.
Having the conversations, it's like in a natural relationship, I can't expect my friend to do all the talking. If I like this person, I can't expect them to do all the talking for me. I have to talk for myself and build that relationship myself.
That's right.
And so a lot of times we think that on Sundays are the only days that we can visit Jesus.
That's right.
But we have 24-hour access to this man. And when you build your relationship with him at home, coming to church is just like going out on a date. It's just going in public.
Yep.
You just able to say to Jesus you'd have had all time at home.
Right.
And so it's just important that you build that relationship at home on your own. Find a place to worship, because forsaking the assembly should not be an option. Because when you come out and you come together with other believers and you're lifting up the name of Jesus, it's an amazing feeling.
Yep.
People say all the time, well, I can get this at home. I can do this at home. You know, you can't have an experience at home. It's the most intimate moments that happen at home. Absolutely. But it's still something about getting in his presence around other believers. It's just a wonderful feeling. So I encourage you on tonight to really, please find the Lord. Find him for yourself. Get a relationship with him for yourself. Everything that Dee Dee has talked about on tonight, every bit of it has happened. It is the truth. You know, we know some things firsthand, and I don't choose to talk about a lot of stuff. I don't choose to. It's my choice. And the reason that I don't, it is not because I'm in fear of speaking of it or any of that. It's just that I don't have the time to give, you know, to all of that. I just don't have it. And
so we ain't trying to do no discord, none of that kind of stuff.
No bashing, just to pull you, to let you know your feelings are real. These things are happening and have happened, but it's still your responsibility. No matter what, it is still your responsibility to formulate your own relationship with God. And I'm gonna leave you with this example of this, since we've, you know, talked about hurt and stuff. King David, before he was King David, he served under Saul, and he remember the story. He killed Goliath, and after he killed Goliath, you know, Saul took him with him, and he would play the harp because Saul was disobedient to the Lord. And because Saul was disobedient, Samuel told him, like, he snatched his robe away and it tore or something, that the Lord was, you know, taking the anointing away from him, right? And so there was an evil spirit that would come upon Saul. And so David would have to play to calm that evil spirit. Well, they go out to battle this one particular time. And when they come back in the town, the people are screaming and hollering, and they're excited that they're back. And they say Saul killed his 1,000, but David killed his 10,000. And it was at that moment that Saul listened and said, wait a minute, they're esteeming him higher than they're esteeming me, and I'm the king. And so at that moment, he eyed David, and he was jealous of David. David did nothing wrong. And the Bible says that he would throw javelins at David. And so David ends up leaving. Nobody understood necessarily why David left, but David left because he was running for his life. And Jonathan, you know, the part of the story where Jonathan really confirms, yeah, my dad is trying to kill you, you know, go away. And so there were 2 incidents where David had the opportunity to kill Saul himself. 2 incidents, and he didn't do it. And the first time he didn't do it, and Saul said to him, you are truly, you know, is that my son David? Like, you didn't do it. Thank you, you know, whatever. But then in the next breath, he was after him again for nothing. Like, you're after me for what? All I did was serve you, and you're after me. Why?
You after me, but I promise you, you don't want it. Talking about David Saul there. He was after him, but I promise you, he didn't.
Pray for him. But anyway, let's move on with my story. So he goes on a little bit further, and the next time he has the opportunity to kill him, and eventually David goes and he's building, he has this army because there are people that follow him. And when David, Saul ends up going to the witch of Endor, and he calls up Samuel's spirit, because by this time Samuel the prophet had died, and he calls up the spirit of Samuel, and he was like, why did you wake me up? And he's asking him, the Lord won't even speak to me anymore. So all that Saul was doing was acting out of his flesh, because he wasn't hearing from the Lord at all. And so he goes and he ends up telling Samuel tells him, this time tomorrow, you and your son's going to be killed. And so the story goes on. Surely enough, he falls on the sword that he's trying to kill somebody else, but he fell on his own sword. And so it is just important that you let God be God in your life. Don't even worry about fighting the battle for yourself. Let the Lord fight your battle for you. And I'm not saying this to say that, you know, the Lord can't use people that were in leadership and did wrong. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is you don't necessarily have to fight it yourself, because David did not fight him. Like he didn't kill him when he had the opportunity. And so when you see that I may not say anything, or I may not, I just may not do that. And it's okay, because I understand I got a greater purpose. David understood you about to be king, sir. Don't even fight. You're about to take, like, you're about to be king. The Lord said it. He anointed you for it. It is what it is. You don't even have to fight. And so I just encourage you on tonight. Let it be whatever it was. Let go of her. Ask the Lord to heal you everywhere you hurt. And he will do it. Meek, not weak. That's right, Facetious. Meek, not weak.
That's right.
So Lord, heal you in those places, whether it is being hurt in the church, whether someone with a religious spirit has just attacked you and made you not want to go back, or whether it's someone who has just sown discord. Hey, Talina, I love you, girl. Whether it's somebody, who has just sown discord in the church or whatever, just give them to God. I'm telling you, that's what I did the majority of the time. I would pray about stuff. I'm talking about, I would just pray about it and give it to God. There are moments, though, like June said, that I really wanted to respond. And actually, not long ago, I wanted to respond to some things that I felt were wrong. And I didn't. I didn't have opportunity to. So I can't say I didn't, because I just didn't have opportunity to. Which was a good thing. But now I'm just in such a better place that it doesn't even matter. Like, I'm not wasting.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, and for all the experiences, for me, I would tell anyone, do not discount the process, because it was necessary, because it just pushed me to my next level.
Oh,
come on!
Wow. Now,
it was necessary.
We are extremely proud of you too.
Absolutely.
We was at the service, your ordination service. We were there. We had to leave. We had to go to another service, but we wouldn't have missed that for the world.
Absolutely.
Y'all don't know how much that meant to me to see you guys there.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So the last thing I want to say is I want everybody to understand that the church, there is no perfect church.
None.
That's right.
The church is made up of what Dee called the three buckets. Mm-hmm. And there are more buckets, but the three that she talked about was hurt, religious, and people who cause discord. Mm-hmm. That's who make up the church, in addition to the genuine people. There are some people that's there that's looking for service. Looking for purpose. Mm-hmm. There are some people that's there that they just really, all they want is God. Mm-hmm. All they want is instruction. All they want is the presence of God and just life direction.
Yep.
The church is made up of these people here. So there is no perfect church. There is no perfect church. But with that being said, Dee, we want you to encourage somebody tonight.
There is a perfect God, though.
There is.
That resides in the church.
What you say?
That's good.
Yes, there is a perfect God. Amen. There is. So yeah, we want you to encourage somebody tonight that may be dealing with hurt religious people, or they may have encountered someone that constantly
causes
discord. Encourage them tonight.
Well, I will first say, count it not strange if you're on and you're listening and you're watching, that you're on for this particular reason. And as I said before, it's part of the process. Nobody wants to talk about that part of being saved, or it's roses, but there's also some other things that come along with that. And so do not be discouraged. It is part of the process. It will move you to your next level. It will not kill you. And as June said, and as Ayana said, there's no perfect church, but there is a perfect God.
Yes.
Cast all your cares onto him.
That's right.
Cast all of them, even the things that seem small. Cast them all on him. We had to do the last 7 sayings, and I had the last word. Mine was commend thy spirit, and it just resonated with me in so many ways of what to do. And First Peter talks about casting all of your cares, all of them, onto him, and just move forward.
Yes. That is so good. And I think Funi said something that's so key. She takes it to God and in her
journal. That's right.
I think that's good. Guys, Dee Dee, thank you. You know, I didn't even know all of Dee Dee's story. I knew bits and pieces of it, but what you all are hearing, a lot of it for the first time, I'm hearing.
I'm sure they're still not all.
Right.
That's enough for you to understand and what we're trying to say tonight.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you. It was so good. It was so
good.
So
much.
Tell Mr. Smoots we said hello.
I will.
We should have had
and Bryce.
He's still working, but I will.
Hey, Kelly. Thank you all for joining, guys. If you know someone that needs to hear this on tonight, share it with them. If they are experiencing church hurt or have experienced some kind of hurt, religious spirit, discord in the church, let them listen to this, because all we really ultimately want you to do is get back into the face of God, because you're going to face some things down the road that only God is going to be able to get you to. And what I realize is sometimes he has to take you out of the face of man to put you into his face.
That's it.
And so it's necessary. Like you said, Dee Dee, it's necessary.
Yes. We gotta work it out. The Bible declares that we should work out our own salvation and do it with fear and with trembling.
That's right.
Work it out.
Thank you. Work it out. Thank you all for joining us on tonight. Thank you. Good night. Hey, Miss Shirley. Hey, Miss Mary. Thank you all. Hey, Janice. Good night. We love y'all. Hey, Miss Margaret. Love you. Good night.
Good night, guys.